Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the RHJ Group webinar on the Digital Nomad Visa. I'm very happy that you are all joining here today. My name is Jeremiah Jordan. I'm the Managing Director of RHJ Group. This evening, we have Barbara Fernandez, who's a lawyer that we work with very closely in Portugal from the company Franco Law. And I also have one of our personal tax experts in Portugal, Felipe Gama. So they will also be on tonight and will be able to speak on their respective, how can I put this, expertise, and obviously answer any questions that you may have. What I would say is, as we go through the webinar this evening, please make any notes. If you have any questions, please ask them. And if you do miss anything tonight, this is being recorded, so the webinar will be on the website and you'll be able to have full access to this as well. And just some topics for discussion. What is the Digital Nomad Visa? Who is eligible for the visa and what are the requirements? Getting the Digital Nomad Visa, paying tax with the Digital Nomad Visa, pros and cons of the Digital Nomad Visa. Also, why choose Portugal? Are there any other countries which offer a Nomad Visa, and the alternative visa options for Portugal? Because there's obviously the Nomad Visa, but there are different options available depending on each person's circumstances. So I'm going to hand off to Barbara and let her speak about the Nomad Visa and how exciting this really is.
Thank you, Jeremiah. So as Jeremiah introduced me, I'm Barbara Fernandes. I'm a lawyer based in Portugal, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today and discuss the Digital Nomad Visa and how we can assist you. So what is a Digital Nomad Visa? Well, during the recent pandemic, Portugal became an attractive destination for people that were able to work remotely and were looking for a change of scenery, as well as a low cost of living and a great climate. So given the amount of digital nomads moving to Portugal, our government introduced a more appropriate visa at the end of last year for individuals in the situation. This visa will grant you Portuguese residency, and as a Portuguese resident, you'll be able to travel freely within the European Union. You'll also become tax resident here, which can bring you some tax benefits that we'll discuss later on. One important thing to note is that although the Digital Nomad Visa is very similar to the Passive Income Visa, the D7, they are not the same. Later this webinar, I'll talk about the differences between these two, and then you can understand what differentiates them. Now, moving on, we'll talk about who's eligible for the Digital Nomad Visa. So, Emily, if you could just jump into the next slide, please. Thank you. So, who's eligible for the Digital Nomad Visa? One of the first steps is to see if you're eligible or not, if you have the requirements. So we prepared here some of the main requirements for you to know. First of all, you need to be an adult, meaning that you should be at least 18 years old. You should also have a salary of 3,040 euros a month. It's also mandatory for you to have health and travel insurance to proceed with the visa. And very importantly, this visa is aimed for non-European citizens. Otherwise, you'll have to apply for the European certificate instead. It's also important to provide a copy of your criminal record, and ideally, it's a clean criminal record. Very important is that your employer is based outside of Portugal. Otherwise, depending on the situation, you'll probably have to apply for a work visa instead. And also you should have a proof of accommodation in Portugal for 1 year period, like a long-term rental contract. So now, how do you get this visa? It's the next part of this webinar. The process usually starts in your country of residency, so it can be different depending on your specific case. We usually have a first call with you to understand your plans and current situation, and we'll then provide the right information based on your circumstances. Once you make the decision to apply for the visa, the very first step is to issue your Portuguese tax identification number, what we call in Portuguese the NIF or NIF. And to do that, we will need a copy of your passport, a proof of your current address, that can be a recent utility bill or bank statement with your name and address on it. And then we'll draft the power of attorney for you to sign, and we can start the process. Now, some of the necessary documents for the visa must be notarized, but don't worry, we'll make sure to give you the proper guidelines throughout the process so you know exactly what documents to get and how to obtain them. Now, Felipe will talk about something that is usually very important to our clients, which is paying taxes in Portugal. So, Felipe, I'll let you talk now.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Barbara, for this. My name is Felipe. I deal mostly with Portugal taxes in Portugal here at RHG Accountants. So yeah, paying tax with the digital Nomad visa. So basically, once the visa is approved, you have legal residence in Portugal, and you'll be able to change the address on your NIF, which basically is the tax ID number in Portugal, to a Portuguese address by the tax authority. This means that you will be considered a tax resident in Portugal from then on, there onwards, and no longer a tax resident of your previous country. This would then begin the process of you declaring and paying taxes on your worldwide income, which is done once a year. Okay. As a side note, the tax year in Portugal is the same as the calendar year, and the tax return is submitted from April to June, usually. Okay. However, you may be able to reduce this amount of tax or the amount of tax that you pay with certain tax-friendly benefits, such as the NHR program, which some of you probably have heard about. The NHR program, often referred to as the NHR simply, is a tax regime which offers expats and investors reduced tax rates and also exemptions on some taxes throughout Portugal. Okay? Currently, approximately 10,000 non-habitual residents are already enjoying these benefits. Regarding the digital Nomad visa and its requirements, and with the NHR, it can give you an exemption on taxes as long as your salary is taxed on the country of source. Okay. Also, there may be the possibility to pay a special flat tax rate of 20% if you qualify for a high value activity according to the NHR list, and so wouldn't pay the income tax on the country of source. For example, if you are a web designer working for a UK company, you can continue to pay the UK and therefore be exempt in Portugal under the NHR regime, or to pay only the 20% flat rate in Portugal. There might be that possibility, and not to pay in the UK, for example. Of course, this within our one-on-one meeting, we would need questions to assess the situation and your personal circumstances, and offer you the best advice on which tax route may be best for you. Okay, so please feel free to book a meeting with us, and we're happy to have you with the team. I will now pass again to Barbara and Jeremiah, so they can continue with this instead of the taxes.
So obviously now we're going to look at the pros and cons of the digital nomad visa. I'm just going to say there are lots of pros. For example, you become an EU resident, which means you can travel within the EU. So there's no more having to look at how many days you can spend in the EU. You are a resident of the EU, you can spend as many days in the EU as you want. By moving to Portugal, I can say from my own personal experience, the living costs are so much more lower than a lot of other countries, namely the UK, even the US, France, Germany. You can meet new people. It's a very relaxed lifestyle, or as the Portuguese would say, tranquilo. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Much nicer weather. Depending on where you are, the south has a lot of sunshine. The north still has a lot of sunshine too, but it does rain. But hey, look, we all need some, like rain every now and then. There's lots of new cultures in Portugal. Because Portugal's also not, I would say, a large country, there's not really much of a commute anywhere. And as a nomad, you can obviously work from anywhere, whether that's a co-working center, working from home, working in an office. I would just say, and obviously I'm very biased, Portugal is the place to be. And there's clearly a reason why lots of people from across the world are moving to Portugal, not just for the benefits of tax, but also the benefits of the lifestyle and having, I would say, a very, very more relaxed way of life. I'm sure Barbara and Philippe would agree.
Definitely. Yeah, both in Lisbon and Porto and other cities, Portugal. Yeah.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
And in terms of the cons, I mean, it can get lonely, but I would say, look, you'll meet people here. If you go out, there's lots of expat groups. There's ways to meet people in Portugal. So I don't think it would get lonely. The work-life balance, of course, that is with any country you move to or any country that you're in. But put it this way, you could finish work at 3, 4, or 5 in the afternoon, and then you could have a walk to the beach. And I'm sure that would make most people feel pretty good, in my opinion. And why choose Portugal? Well, as I've said, it's an affordable cost of living, friendly locals, the landscapes are very scenic, the food is absolutely excellent. Obviously, with the NHR, there is a lot of tax incentives, not just for, say, people on salary, but also people that would have dividends, for example, rental income. I would say book a meeting with us and obviously let's look at what is your income stream and how can it best benefit you by moving to Portugal and obviously paying lower taxes. And in terms of just some other countries that also offer the digital nomad visa, at our Street Group, we do work in Portugal, but we also do work in other countries. And we just thought we'd just give a very brief description of the other countries that have the digital nomad visa, just in case you didn't want to move to the wonderful island of Portugal. For example, Malta is just a small island country in Europe, but it does offer a nomad residency permit. The opportunity is available to non-European remote workers for an initial period of 1 year with the potential for renewal. The length is 1 year and can be renewed, and the income to prove is 2,700 euros per month, plus a rental contract or property purchase. And English is an official language in Malta as well. There's also the United Arab Emirates, and we know for a fact that Dubai does offer a innovative one-year virtual working program. It's opened its doors to the digital nomads and remote workers. If you look at the length, again, it's for 1 year. The income to prove is €5,000 per month over the last 3 months, plus proof of employment or proof of company ownership. And lastly, Cyprus, which also obviously sort of followed Malta in saying, look, they're going to also offer visas to non-EU citizens. Again, it's for a period of 12 months. It can be extended for an additional 2 years, and the length is 1 year, can be renewed for 2 years, as I mentioned. The income to prove is €3,500 after taxes. And then what I would say is, obviously, this is mainly talking about the digital nomad visa. However, there are some alternative visa options for people that want to move to Portugal and that don't qualify for the digital nomad visa. I'm just going to let Barbara do a run through of these type of visas.
Right. So based on the information provided so far and the digital nomad requirements as a visa, if you see that it's not the most suitable for you, don't worry, because Portugal has a list of other different visas that can be better for your case. So we have here a list of some of them. I would say the most important ones. And I'm going to briefly talk about which one of them so you can better understand the requirements and who are they aimed for. So the business visa, it's aimed for people that want to open a business in Portugal and also want to move here, become a resident. So you should first establish a company, a Portuguese company, and most importantly, you should have a business plan for this Portuguese company. Then we have the high qualified visa, which is more for professionals that have an employment contract with the high qualified position. A good example of this type of position is software development, for example. And then we also have the student visa for if you're looking to get a bachelor, master's, or a PhD degree, this visa will be for you. And we also have the family reunification visa, which is for people that have a close family member that is either a Portuguese citizen or a resident in Portugal. So you can apply for the family reunification based on that, on having that family type. And then the passive income visa that I mentioned previously can be similar to the digital nomad visa, but I would say there are two main requirements that differentiate them. First, while the digital nomad visa, as we saw, you must have a stable salary as income. This visa, as the name says, is based on passive income, such as rental income, dividends that you receive from a company that you own, or pension. And then the amount is also very different. We saw that the digital nomad visa, you should provide that, or you should prove that you receive at least €3,040 a month in terms of a salary. With the passive income visa, you should show as little as €760 of passive income per month. So we are experienced with all these types of visas, so we'll be happy to help you if you choose to apply with one of these.
And I'd just like to say, we are happy to assist with opening a bank account, establishing a business, or anything else you need with regards to your move to Portugal. Just basically contact us. We can speak about the various visa options available. It is what we do, so to speak. And that's actually now the end, but what we'll actually have now is a question and answer session. So what I would say to anybody that does have questions, please put them in the chat and we will now begin to start answering some of these questions if we can. If we can't answer it now, obviously we would say just book a meeting with us so that we can go into more detail of your situation. So I'm just going to start at the top of the questions that I have so far. And the first question from Steph is, if I only just started earning 3,040 euros, can I start my application, or do I have to show so many months worth of wage slips? I will let you answer that one, Barbara.
Sure, yeah. So this is a very important question, actually, because we do recommend that you show some consistency when applying for the digital nomad visa. Usually what we advise is that you receive at least 3 months prior of your application, just to show the Portuguese authorities that you have a stable income and not just that you received this month and now I'm going to apply. So yeah, I would say 3 months is prior to the application is the best to have a successful application. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Barbara. Philip has asked, if I own a place in Portugal, does that count as proof of residency?
Right. So yeah, of course, I mentioned the rental agreement because it's probably the most common, but if you do want to purchase a property in Portugal, and if you already own a property in Portugal, of course, that can count as proof of residency for the visa purpose. So yeah, that will definitely be acceptable.
Perfect. Carl's asked, there is a 1-year version and a 2-year residency version of the D8 visa. Can you confirm how the distinction is made within the application process?
Right. So there are 2 types of digital nomad visa. We focused here today on the digital nomad visa residency, the one that will grant you the residency in Portugal. By the way, this one that we spoke today, you'll get a residency card of 2 years that can later on be renewed for another 3 years. But the 1-year digital nomad visa will not grant you the residency. So it's just a temporary visa that will allow you to live in Portugal for 1 year. But for example, you won't be able to become a tax resident and benefit from the tax programs that Portugal may have. So in terms of the process, it's much easier, and we can also assist you with that as well. But yeah, it also starts in your country of residency. There's not as much documents for you to show. Overall, yeah, I can say it's a bit easier to get, but there's that big difference that you won't become a Portuguese resident that I think it's relevant to note here. So yeah, I hope that I answered your question, Carl.
That's really good, actually, because people do need to be aware of when you become a tax resident in Portugal. So thank you for that, Barbara. Just another question from Steph. She just asked, what is to be included in the business plan?
Right. So, of course, as a business person and owner of your own business, you'll know how to explain that more than us,
Yeah.
of course, but we'll be able to help you with that, just to make sure that you have all the relevant information that the Portuguese authorities are looking for. So yeah, that's definitely something that we can help with.
Okay, just a few more. Zania has asked, when you said that our income should be 3,040 euros, it means we should have that in a bank account in Portugal?
Right. So, of course, that prior for you to apply for the visa, and as I mentioned, you should have some consistency that you receive the salary. You'll probably be receiving this salary in an account that you already have, right? But for the purpose of the visa, you do need to have a Portuguese bank account. And from the moment that you receive, actually from the moment that you apply and you have the bank account open, you should switch to the Portuguese bank account so that we can show to the Portuguese authorities that from now on you'll start receiving your salary in your Portuguese bank account, because you'll then start being a Portuguese tax resident as well.
Thank you. Paul has actually asked, is the minimum income of €3,040 for the digital nomad required for every year I live in Portugal? Very good question, actually.
Yeah, that's a very good question, Paul. So this is mainly for the process of getting the visa and the residency permit, the residency card. So it's definitely important during that period that you can provide this amount. As I mentioned, your residency card will be issued for 2 years. So it's fine if during that period you don't receive that much, or there are months that you receive more. That should be okay, mainly because to get the renewal of your card, it can either be automatic or not. Well, at that case, we suggest that closer to renew your card, you establish again your salary as you did at the beginning. But if not, it's something that we can assist you in your specific case. Try to provide more information if you need that.
Thank you. Just having a look. Guppy has asked, what's the difference between the digital nomad visa and the digital nomad residency visa? But maybe you answered that already, I believe.
Yeah, it's the difference between the other question. So we focused here today on the digital nomad residency visa that will grant you the residency in Portugal that is valid for 2 years and then renewed, while the other one is just granted for 1 year. So it's a temporary visa and does not give you the residency in Portugal.
Perfect. Alexander has asked, could someone who earns less than 2,000 be able to fit into the nomad visa? I'd obviously say no, but what I would say is do speak those, and maybe you could qualify for another visa, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. Or maybe if you have any other types of income that you can combine, maybe, and we have to see your situation more specifically. But yeah, as Jeremiah said, could either be a different type of visa, or maybe if you can combine with the other type of income, we can show the authorities that you have enough to support yourself in Portugal.
Yeah, definitely. Ali Noor has asked, I freelance using a UK limited company and then receive income using salary and dividends. For Portugal or Dubai, can I still reduce taxes if I continue using the limited company for receiving money from my freelance contracts? I will answer that question. I would say yes, you definitely can reduce your corporate taxes, number one, because of the high corporate tax rate in the UK compared to Portugal or Dubai. What I'd say is it's best to just go through your situation in detail and obviously run the numbers to kind of show this is how it would work if you wanted to move to Portugal or Dubai, but you can definitely still have the contracts through the company or even a different company. In terms of questions, I believe that's it. Speak now or forever hold your peace, everybody. Or definitely come back to us. You know, but what I'd say is please do contact us if you do have any more questions. Send us an email. We're more than happy to have a conversation to discuss in detail your personal situation. And I would say, as someone that has moved to Portugal, it's a great country, very friendly, very good tax rates. Why not consider the move and see if it works for you? I'd just like to officially say thank you to Barbara and Philippe for joining us here today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. And yeah, if you have any other questions, just let us know. We're here to help.
And also,
Thank you.
I would like to say thank you for everybody that took the time to join. I know it's the evening. People want to obviously, you know, eat food, relax. So what I'd say is thank you very much for everybody that's joined. Please do obviously tell, you know, anyone about this. They can obviously watch this online later. And from me, thank you very much, everybody. Or muito obrigado. And we will hopefully be in touch with you very soon, or you can contact us. Thank you, everyone.